evening and welcome to the July 20th Waterboro Board of Selectmen's meeting. If everybody would please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any announcements this evening? I just would like to wish Nancy Roberge a speedy recovery. She's a little under the weather, going to be laid up for a few weeks. She's a secretary for the Transfer Station Recycling Committee and the Road Review Committee, and so we wish her a quick recovery. 6 o'clock, we have an appointment with Friends of the Waterboro Public Library. Jack, the floor is yours.
Floor is mine. Okay. I feel like I'm entering into another sharp learning curve, so you may need to be patient with me as we go through these things. First thing I want to talk about is the federal appropriations money. When I was here probably 2-3 weeks ago, I talked about that as holding it very lightly. A couple of days after I was here, we got a call from Representative Pengry's office saying that our request for $500,000 had been accepted by the subcommittee of the House Appropriations Committee. And as Jackie Potter, her staff person, said, that's a big deal, but it's not a done deal. And it is a big deal. It's a major, major hurdle in this whole congressional process. On the other hand, it's in the congressional process, so what happens is unknown. On a scale to 1 to 10, I think we're probably an 8, from what people tell me. That's the major hurdle. Unless something really goes wrong, and it could, then we have a very, very good shot at getting $500,000, which would be exciting. And I find it hard not to get excited, even though my head tells me, Jack, just stay with it. So we're on the verge of being able to say we're bringing 4 acres of land, $360,000, maybe $500,000 of federal money, but we can't quite say that yet. So we just need to know that it's there and just keep working. I mean, we talked about this last night. We've got a lot of work to do, both in raising money and in pushing the referendum, but we need to acknowledge that's there. Second interesting piece is Victor Ryan and I met with our Wright Ryan construction company yesterday morning. It was a great way to end a vacation at 8 o'clock being in Portland talking about all of this. I said, oh my Lord. A couple of interesting things. One, their estimate is about $175,000 less than the previous estimate. So that's certainly nice in terms of it's money you don't need to raise in a way. But essentially it's in the same ballpark as the previous estimate, which means 2 years apart. We've had 2 professionals look at all the documents, and they're coming relatively close. I think we can trust the estimate. That's really what I come away with. I found it interesting because they got talking about why the building is as expensive as it is. They expected it to be less expensive. And they cite 3 things. One is the design of the building, because you have different pieces of it with different roof elevations, that all costs money. If you built a square, 4 walls and a roof, it's a lot less expensive to build. So the design of building is part of it. But the design, and we were very conscious of this, when I went to the visioning session that John Gale did 2003 on the comprehensive plan, the people were very strong in wanting to maintain the rural character of Waterboro. And that's page 1 of the 2003 comprehensive plan. And we took that very seriously. And we said to the architect, we want to do that. And he did. He picked up what is very common in New England of a house and a barn and something else and these various buildings attached to each other. And he built that into the design. But that is part of what is the difficulty. The second piece that causes increase of money is site work. Given the water tables, the site has to be raised up. I think they said 48 inches, but don't quote me on that. Which means there's a fair amount of fill and all of that kind of thing. They would expect that site work would be about $10 to $15 a square foot. This is close to $50 a square foot. And it's all because of the type of land and what you have to do to prevent ongoing water problems and that kind of stuff down the line. So that's the second major piece that is impacting the cost of this building. And I just need to acknowledge that I'm very aware of Old Alfred Road and the water issues. I talked with the architect, Frank Oliver, this morning. He's going to go back and take a look at the site work that his engineers did and refresh his memory as to how they're dealing with water stuff. So I just want people to know it's not that we're not aware of those bigger pieces. So the bottom cost is about $2.7 million. They say it will take about 7 months to build. Victor Wright points out that those 7 months will be economically good for the town. We've got a lot of people around spending money for lunches, if nothing else, and lots of coffee. But also the commitment is to employ as many local contractors as fits with the quality of work you're doing, the kind of work you're doing, et cetera, et cetera. So that's that piece. Any comment on either of those or questions about any of that yet?
Did I miss something, Jack? You said there was 3 components?
Oh.
One was the design and the other one was water? I was wondering what the other one was.
Thank you, I missed that. The yellow is a piece of the design, it's the elevations of the roofs. The roofs are pointed up in various places. They don't go this way in a straight line, but they go up and down and up and down. And that costs money to do that kind of roofing. So it's a part of the design, but a particular part of the design is the roof elevations. At least I think that's what it is.
It may
Sometimes
save design and save money in the future in that flat roofs do not do well in Maine.
Well, yes, you wouldn't want to do a flat roof, but there are other ways to do roofs, but it's part of the design. I'm glad you mentioned that because it slipped my mind as I went through that.
There's one other thing, Jack, that you mentioned, and I think we're very attuned to this right now when you talk about water. And I'd heard it kind of said in the background a couple of times from people in the Old Alfred Road and saying, don't clear more land. We have enough problems with what the school has cleared. And looking at that, it's on the other side of the school, and you're taking a look at something that's basically 2 house lots, large. So it's like building 2 houses right off Route 5, and that is not going to have a water effect a quarter of a mile away as a crow flies across the school land. So with people that may be concerned about in the Old Alfred Road area that the building of the library is going to affect their water more, again, it's like building 2 houses over there.
Anything else on any of those that you want to?
How much difference, how much, Jack, is, I mean, you say the design is costly, rural character, high water table, instead of $10 or $15 per square foot is $50, and the roof line. I mean, how much more does those 3 things figure into this $2.7 million?
I don't know. I don't have that figure. If Victor were here, he might be able to make a guess, but we'd probably have to ask. It could be that looking at the detailed piece, you might be able to pick up some of that, and I haven't done it. I'm not sure I would trust myself to read the documents accurately. If Victor were here, he could probably go through the detailed site work that they did, or estimates they did. I gave Nancy a copy of the 10 pages. I have copies, you can all have one if you want, but I wasn't sure you wanted to stuff your mailboxes with those. You can get them if you so desire.
And I'm just looking at those 3 items. One is you have the land that was given to the library, so that's $300,000 worth of land right there. So if you say, okay, can you build in a place that doesn't need that kind of site prep work, then you're buying the land. The other thing is the roof line. Here, from having dealt with schools, and especially in M.R.S.A. D57, some of the schools that had built flat roofs had real roof problems. And then the other part is part of the building of this, the design of the building is that you can close a certain part of it, and when it's not being used, and it's set up in a place where you can have a minimum of staff to run it. So if it was built in a different design, in a box type design, you might not be able to run it on 2 staff members or 3 staff members. You might need 5 there. So the operational cost could be larger.
And we deliberately wanted to create something beautiful.
Yep.
I mean, that's what we set out
Absolutely.
to do. Okay. I'd like to come back to the referendum question, and I have 2 questions for you. I'm blanking on the 2 questions. Give me a second here. One question is whether or not you would consider voting on the referendum in the next couple of weeks. Last time I was here, we were talking about having the freedom to wait until September, and that's fine if that's what you continue to want to do. Been advised by several people you may want to do that sooner. It would certainly help us in terms of, hey, it takes one more thing off my plate that I don't have to think about, but also in terms of trying to sell this to the town. It'd be very helpful to have very concrete, be able to say, yes, this is what the referendum is going to say, this is what's been approved, this is what's going to cost, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you would be inclined to do that, Tom M.R.S.A. suggested that I have Matthew Eddy draw up a draft of a referendum. So the one question is, would you be willing to consider doing that vote within the next couple of weeks? The second question has to do with the referendum. I don't know if what he wrote is even in the ballpark of what you need, or if you need something very different. If you can give me some guidance along that line. I've never written a referendum, so he has. So I need some guidance as to whether that's even in the ballpark, or is it too vague? Is it just what you would look for? So there's 2 questions.
Are you looking to go into the bond bank?
Yes.
Then you have a very specific article that has to be drawn up. It's very specific, and you have to have a bond attorney involved in it.
Okay, so then maybe you and I need to talk. Yeah, okay.
It's very similar, well, be just like the one that we did in November.
Okay. Well, maybe you and I can get together and you can help me rephrase that and figure out exactly what that wording might look like. I would have assumed that Matthew would know such things, but maybe he didn't think about it, I don't know. And the second question is whether you would consider having a vote on that in the next couple of weeks. I'm not sure whether you're inclined to do that or not. I'm open to whatever. It would be helpful to me, but if you have reasons why you would like to wait until later on, that's fine too. So
The article for the bond wouldn't be ready in 2 weeks.
Okay, so that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, because you have, like I said, you have to go through an attorney,
All right,
and there's all kinds of paperwork that has to be done.
good.
If that can't be done by August 3rd, then there's no sense in
No, no.
doing it, because then you'd still need a unanimous vote of the
Right.
board.
Yeah, the only advantage was to get it clear ahead of time, you know. But let's you and I work on that, when we get all that paperwork together, we'll come back and see what we want to do.
But certainly we wouldn't want to wait till the last hour.
No, we don't want to go that, we don't want to go that side either. You asked at the last meeting we had about operating costs, and I am working on that. There are two fundamental assumptions. How many hours would we assume the library would be open? And what are the staffing needs? I don't know if you would have any suggestions as to what assumption I should make in terms of the number of hours that the library should be open. If you have any suggestions, I'd be happy to work with them. If you don't, I'll probably take 32 hours a week, which is what the municipal offices are open. So, any thoughts on that question? We have to make some assumptions someplace, so
What is it open now?
25.
25, 32? To me, 32 sounds reasonable.
You know, it's basically to give us, at this point, basically is to give us a sense as to what the operating cost might be. It's not like we're using that as a budgetary item at this point.
I think it'd be interesting to maybe play out a couple different scenarios
Okay,
currently, what the current operations are. If it was to go up to 32 hours, what would the comparison
yeah.
be?
That particularly comes through in terms of staffing, salaries, and that kind of thing. Frank Oliver suggested that we look at the Freeport Community Library. It's twice the size of this, but they're using the same mechanical stuff, the same kind of heating system that will be in the new building. I've had a little bit of a look at that, and I haven't had a chance to get back to it. But if you get a chance, you may want to take a look at, if you go to the Town of Freeport website, you can get their budget, and it's on page 29 of their budget is the library budget. I'll be working with Ruth to see if we can tease that out a little bit further. If we're going to talk about operating costs, then we also have to talk about estimated revenue income. And by that time, the Friends have established two events that are potential fundraisers, the Gala and the Community Pig Roast. There's no reason why, if we keep working at that, they can't also be revenue producing more so than they are. I think you could push the Pig Roast to bringing in $5,000 by the time you get to 2011-12. You could probably get the Gala up to 15 or more. So when we look at operating expenses, we also make some assumptions about potential revenue. The other revenue source is the community room, and while town committees and groups would obviously use it for nothing, there's no reason why businesses or people from out of town or that wanted to make use of it, you couldn't rent out that space. That would take time to develop, for people to know that it's there and what it can do and all that kind of thing. No reason why you can't hold events and charge admission for various things. I was at the Camden Public Library on a wet, rainy day. They were having a guitar concert from 12:30 to 2:30 in their meeting room. You could do things like that and charge them some fee of some kind. There are ways of utilizing those things to create revenue. That's pretty much what's on my mind at this point. It's an update. I'll keep you abreast. You and I will do some work. And any questions or concerns? Okay. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, hearing of delegation. correspondence, reports, town administrators report.
Tom started working today with the company consultants to do our energy audit. They came today and looked at all the buildings, so that has started. And the bid for the transfer station is completed. Dave and I still have to work on the one for the sign. Also too, I'm working on the tax club information that has to go out. The tax club is new this year. It's built in within municipal software. And what it allows is people can pay monthly payments on their taxes and they won't be charged interest. They have 10 months. It has to be paid by June 15th. If they miss a payment, then all the back taxes and fees are accrued, and it's only on current. It will not apply to anybody who owes any back taxes. They have to be current. So we're looking at getting the advertisement out for August to start in September, when the commitment is set. So I got a draft done. But still need to put some finishing touches on it. I have a copy for the board for tonight to look at, take with you.
Anything else, Nancy? Okay. Selectmen's report. Seeing none. Committee report, planning board. Frank?
Well, I'm Frank Allen. I'm the junior member of the planning board, so I sort of drew the short straw this time around. Since the last time we had someone here, Doug, we've had a small number of meetings, I think 3, a couple of workshops. We've had a couple inspections, site inspections, both of them off Logan Circle. One for a deck extension and one for a small subdivision. We've had one subdivision, River Bend, up on North Waterboro. We took off the 62+ age restriction. I think currently we've got 2 subdivisions, one on West Road, Waterboro LLC, although I think they've changed their name now, and the one up on Meadowbrook, which is, they're both in their preliminary. Our first real meeting again is tomorrow night, so there's very little happening. I notice we have something from the Selectmen for the marijuana moratorium. I assume we'll just schedule a meeting with you guys for that. And one for a new wellhead protection change, which should be pretty cut and dry because the state regulations take over on that for the most part. So. Looking at informal talks and talks we've had, the only thing I've heard that's come up in the last 2 or 3 months has been some input from members of the Economic Development Committee on a form-based code, a new type of code that people have been talking about. Actually, we went out 2 months ago, ordered the book on it. I got up to page about the 5th chapter before I realized it's probably 10 years out for us. So. We'd need a master plan, a new comprehensive plan. It looks like a couple of charter changes and probably a fair amount of money in AutoCAD and GIS that we just, would either have to pay someone else to do it or do it ourselves. So that's probably a fair amount out. But I got as far as I needed to get in the book. Judy Carl's got the book now, and Tim's up for it after that. So we'll see. We're going to have a presentation of some sort from Standish. Tom has been pushing, and I think that's probably up September, October before we want that. Other than that, pretty quiet.
You are lacking some members on the planning board.
No,
You have a
but-
couple openings.
Well, there's 2 that were done, and you've
So-
got to appoint some, so sure.
We haven't had any applicants put in for the planning
Yeah.
board. Do you want to make a membership drive? Or, is there anything you'd like to say about what would appeal somebody to serve on the planning board.
I should have brought in the planning board manual. I mean, that right there would put off probably 90% of the people. Of all the committees that I've been on or participated in, it's certainly more complicated and more involved than anything else I've been involved in town, including selectmen. You get paid per meeting, so if you like the fame and glory, I suppose there's some of that, but damn little. No, and actually, we need 2 members. The third one, I know you sent a letter out, but I haven't heard you do anything. Is he off, is done? Do we need 3 members?
Yes, we voted last week to remove him.
To remove him, so we now have exactly a number of needed for a
You
forum.
have
So
a
if
quorum,
anybody
yes,
else
sir.
is going to miss, and we do, we're going to start missing meetings, so. I personally can't think of anybody that I know that I'd recommend to put on. Personally, it's a fun one. I've enjoyed the heck out of it more than I thought I would when I came on a year ago. But I'm clearly the junior member and learning like crazy. I think one thing that's going to come up is that we're going to start shipping more and more stuff back to Southern Maine Regional Planning to get approved and get recommendations from, simply because of lack of expertise. We want more written input, so it's not fair to the board nor the developers that we don't have more written input on some of these developments, so that's probably going to change. But we pay for that anyway. The developer pays for the extra, and we pay the fees at Southern Maine, so that's already done. No.
Actually, well, I'm sorry, actually, you could have somebody missing, because I think there was a charter change to the committees that a quorum is of the people appointed. So if you're missing 3,
Mhm.
that leaves you 4,
Yeah.
so you could,
The,
I guess.
Well, the four is fine, but what I'm saying with the 4, that nobody can be missing of those 4.
No, I think that
Yeah,
defaults,
yours is split, I was thinking it was
I think that
odd, but-
defaults to the zoning. The charter has nothing to do with the quorum and the planning board. I don't think we dealt with that because.
And it reads funnily,
By
because it's
state
a
statute.
7-member
I know
board.
we did the finance committee, the
Road review.
road review.
It's a 5
And
regular
other
members,
safety.
2 alternate members, they all have voting. I don't know what you call the forum.
Right.
It's certainly 4 at least, so I don't think you can get less than 4. Unless you call the alternates or,
No, the zoning ordinance says there's 5 regular members.
yep, 2 alternates.
However, they can all vote.
Yep.
So a quorum is the majority of 5.
So good to 3.
So you're saying 3 is a quorum? Interesting, okay.
I think, it's called out, we did not deal with that number in the charter changes because it is controlled by zoning. It was a zoning change.
Right.
Probably to make sure that we have the correct information, and whereas you have a meeting tomorrow night. Nancy, can you run that down tomorrow?
I think everybody would be there tomorrow night, I suspect. I'll talk to her. So.
Frank, at this time, the people on the planning board, I know when I was on it, you had a lot of builders, so people that knew had the lingo down and knew how it worked. And then there was 1 or 2 people like myself that didn't have a clue how, and it took quite a bit of time to kind of get up and running. At this time, how many people are builders that are keyed in? If we get a
I
person
think
that...
I've got the least amount of knowledge. I think I'm
Yeah.
literally the junior member
Okay.
and the least amount of knowledge. Tim and Kurt are fairly well versed, although Kurt is better in New Hampshire than here. It's always fun to see the differences. And Judy has been on since forever.
Yeah.
She was on when my wife was chair. I mean, it's been on for a long time. So, I'm the one with the least amount of experience, but it changes so much. We've got
So if
major.
we had a person that really had very little building experience that was interested in the planning board, there's plenty of people with experience that can...
I'm not entirely
build.
sure the building experience would amount to anything. I'm really not. If you read our charter and you read the manuals, that's almost the least of it. Aside from the fact that come January 1st, all of our building codes are changing anyways.
Yeah.
With the new state law, that's statewide, so everything's changing then. We won't even be able to have mobile homes that are the same width anymore. But that's not us. That's code enforcement. I don't think the building side of it really amounts to, roads, it's been nice to have Doug and David on there, because they do a lot of road work. Has it solved the problems? No, but it certainly gives us a lot more input. More and more Southern Maine Regional Planning. I mean, a lot of the stuff that needs to, from my viewpoint, I want to see go out, I want to see written stuff. And that's what I don't get now. I want to see, when we have a meeting, when we sit down with a developer, I don't want to get input then and then have to go to another meeting. I want to see something, so. Going to be interesting.
And when you say written stuff, Frank, you mean from the developers or from committee?
No, when I've got zoning regulations, when I've got state changes, when I got federal changes coming in, I don't want to hear about them from people at the meeting. I want to have them beforehand. You know, and that's a lot of training. I spent 3 nights over at Southern Maine Regional Planning for classes on new stuff.
Now, is
A lot of
this,
stuff happening.
is this stuff that Nancy or the town should be supplying you? Or is it stuff you have to go find, or how do you get the information?
It's specialized enough, David, that either you're going to end up going to a lawyer, you're going to go to some place like MMA or Southern Maine Regional Planning, people that specialize in this stuff. So that when a developer comes in and says blah, 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 you don't sit there and say, you know, our manual's this thick. The site review, if you read that thing, was, you know, it's not as thick, but it's detailed enough. It would be nice if we had full-time board members that do nothing but this, but we don't. So you need someone with outside expertise. You simply have to. And to me, I'm a reader. I want it in writing. I don't want opinions. You're going to give it to me. I want a piece of paper. This is the way it is, or this is what I think. I mean, I think back to the days we had, I'm sorry, I have to do back to the Dwayne Moran days. You'd walk into a meeting, he'd tell you, this is the way it is, this is the way it's done, and this is what you can do. Well, that's nice when you come into a meeting, because you know where your limitations are. You know what you got to face, instead of, ho-hum, let's go have another meeting, we'll go look into it. Interesting. Good, fun place.
The planning board is a very important part of our municipality. I mean, what vision does the board have, or what do they need over the next 5 years? I mean, you speaking about expertise, and it'd be nice to have some professionals on board, but where are you headed?
Well, unfortunately, we are the professionals on board. The way we do things with appointed boards, and we sort of, we become the professionals. When you have a doubt, we call the lawyers. You hate to do that in everything. What do I see in the next 5 years that we'd need more? The obvious one to me, and then personal preference would be GIS and AutoCAD. We don't have the expertise, and we can't afford it. From my viewpoint, we just don't. I go up to Standish and sit down with them, where they got a PE who's a CEO that does all their AutoCAD and all their presentations. I saw their sidewalk thing they put in. Holy mackerel! Oh yeah, that's what the guy does for a living. We don't have that expertise. That's the next step. Somewhere documentation, somewhere where if you're going through town records, and Nancy will do this one, if you're going through town records and town ordinances and everything else, everything now is a PDF file that I can find. You can't search on it. So we've almost shot ourselves in the foot on that one, going ahead, but really not. So there's a lot of little changes, nothing major. I don't see us doing GIS, I really don't, because the money is not. I just set up 2 towns in New Hampshire. We don't have the money to do that, so. Visions, very short. My vision is I haven't got enough experience to have too much visions on that.
Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks.
Moving on to new business, Old Alfred Road with West Road bond money. I don't think it's old news to anybody that we've been dealing with a lot of water problems up on Old Alfred Road and the neighborhoods that are fed off of Old Alfred Road. And we had 2 meetings since in the past week with residents of the old Alfred Road. We met last Wednesday night with the road review committee, and we had a good probably 40 or so residents that attended the meeting and expressed problems that they're having, their concerns, their frustrations, things they would like to see addressed, things that they would like to see done. The road review committee took in all of what they had to say, and they met afterwards and had some discussions. And I think we all recognize that with the problems that they're having, there's some responsibility from a number of different entities, be it the town, perhaps the school, partially the residents, that we need to get something done to bring some relief to that area. And our budgets have been very tight for the past couple of years, and certainly when we built our budget for this year, there's really no extra money to say that we can go out and spend $200,000 on whatever needs to be done in that area. So one of the things that Dennis brought up was, could we look at what needs to be done and potentially look at the West Road bond money to do some of that work. Now, the West Road bond money is the $84,000 that was left over from the bond that we took out to fix the West Road a few years ago. We, at part of the town meeting this year, the referendum vote was to take those proceeds and use them for some engineering and for some work on the Safe Routes to School, some matching grant monies for the Safe Routes to School. That was voted down at town meeting. So Dennis wondered if we could look at potentially doing a special town meeting, and if we could look at using some of that bond money to potentially bring some of the work that needs to be done in the old Alfred Road neighborhood to getting it done. So I asked Nancy if she could look into what we would have to do, if it's something that we could do and what would need to be done, and I'll let Nancy explain that piece of it.
You could do it at a special town meeting. You would have to have the same article that we had on the referendum question. It would just have to be worded where it was going. Or you could wait until November and do it as a referendum. The problem is we had it as a referendum in June, and it was, voters said they wanted it to pay down the bond. So I don't know.
I think
If you go back and try to put it someplace else.
There's a couple of schools of thought, right? Number one, well, you wanted to spend it on a couple of specific projects. The alternative was if those didn't pass, it would pay down the bond, which is fine.
Mhm.
The other thing is that doesn't mean that we can't bring it back, right? Even if it's there to pay down the bond, there's no reason that someone can't bring it back, as long as that's infrastructure money. To propose it again, I would not propose it unless we have some hard numbers of what it's going to cost for an engineering study or something on Alfred Road. And that's, I think, one of the tough things with the referendum, the way that it was written before, is there was no real hard number that we want out of the $84,000 that's left over. We want to put X here, we want to put X there. So it becomes kind of an empty, you just want the money to spend the money. Whereas I think if you were specific and said, hey, we need $28,000 to do engineering work, and this, and this, and that's all you need out of that bond money, then that's a proposal that you put on the table. Now, if we don't have that, then it's really a moot point. I wouldn't even poke at it, but I think what we're really poking at the other night, it's legally, I know we can go back to the townspeople as many times as you want to go back, but the fact of the matter is that unless we have something specific, there's no sense of going back. Because it's all about, well, we think, or we should, or I think we need to draw a hard number and say, that's what we've got to do as the next step, I'm not sure we're there yet, to try to start to resolve some of the issues. Now, some things have happened, I think, with a little bit of push from Joe. The state is certainly, although they're gonna take the bump out of the road, but they've at least, put the new culverts in and whatnot to at least start to move some of that water across Old Alfred Road. But, it'd be crazy to sit here and all say that, well, there's no real problem. We all know there's a problem, and it's a matter of whether or not we can take out of those developed areas and move what water's there out. I'm not sure I said that the other night, I'm not sure that when if the water's coming out of the middle school grounds, we're damming it up with Hemlock and a few other roads anyway, so we may very well be able to say, yeah, but there's nothing, north of or south of that road. But, so I think you need somebody that's got the PE behind their name saying, this is what we think you can do.
The road review committee is going to do a site walk down there. Doug Foglio is going to meet them down there because he had some suggestions as well. And talking to Roger from the road review committee after the meeting, I understand that one of the things that they discussed was the ditch on Oak Street has not been ditched in 20, 30 years. And they could take some of those CIP money for ditching and ditch Oak Street. Then the hang-up becomes Hemlock, which was never ditched. So what they were tossing about was ditching Hemlock on the school side. The problem they run into there is that there would be 2 driveways that would have to be culverted. So they'd have to work that in somehow, and then ditch that to Oak, and then go back out behind the school or in that direction with it. But again, they're going to do a site walk, and they're going to get back to us within the next couple of weeks. And if nothing else, they would like to see some ditching get done. They can use the CIP money for it. It was a area that they noted when they were doing their CIP projects as one of the areas that was going to need attention. So that was already on their hit list with some of the CIP money. So we should hear back from them in a couple of weeks. So I guess with the bond money at this point,
I
what's
agree with
everybody's thoughts?
Dennis wholeheartedly on this. I mean, it was defeated, and if you come back with anything that smells at all like the original one, people get pretty irritated with coming back again. However, if you come with a very specific project, and this project is going to have an effect on a part of our townspeople, and here's the exact amount of money and the ditching and the culverts that need to go in, then you stand a chance with people saying, okay, we'll release $25,000 of that. I think you stand a pretty good chance of that happening. Otherwise, don't go there.
I mean, we had it somewhat, but we didn't have it in the article that we were figuring 60-some thousand was going to go for the seed money and the rest would go for the engineering. But
I guess the question I would have is that the bond is payable in 5 annual increments. We went in this budget season with X amount of debt service that was due this year. If you take the 84 across the 4 or 5 years, it's another, 16,000 a year that you can pay down, that we, in essence, raised in taxes to pay down the debt service. So can we take that 84 and pay down the debt service? Or can you take the 84 and pay down the bond now, reducing the follow-on years debt service? I mean, net, we may very well be back at town meeting next year saying this is the real project that we got to do over in Old Alfred Road and Hemlock and all of those. Or it's, do we take 16 grand out of that this year and pay down that portion of the debt service and the rest of it is held in limbo until, so I'm not sure how it works with the bond bank, but does it just get paid down? So it would just be the one payment back into the system.
Well, how do we go about, we talk about we need X number of dollars to do something. I spent an hour and a half down there last Friday, walking over the site, and there's no question in my mind that those roads would not be approved if it was in the present system we have. There is no ditching, as you said, Tammy, on Hemlock, and the last 400 feet of Oak, there's no ditching. I don't know where you think the water's going to go. And you can stand on Hemlock and look across to the ball fields, and it's approximately 4 feet higher than the road. So, and it's slanting towards the road. I think it does need an engineer. I think it would give us some, obviously, knowledgeable information on what to do with it, but also that schools have some responsibility there. An idiot could go down there and look at the lay of the land and say the water's coming from the school.
Yeah, because I think, that significant emotional event that I talk about a lot, you take and ditch Hemlock, and the people that live on Hemlock don't realize what it's going to do to their, if you put the appropriate ditch in, they lose a lot of their front lawns and everything else. Yeah. So there are a whole host of things that come into play here, and I think we need just, I think we need just to, is using as much knowledge as we can get before we run off and start throwing money at it.
Yeah.
Gordon, you haven't said anything yet?
I'm kind of torn. I know that there's a significant issue down there that needs to be addressed, but I also am fully aware that the townspeople spoke in a referendum and voted, to pay down the bond debt on that. It almost has the appearance that we're dangling this carrot, that this pot of money here, we're going to hang on until we can find something that the townspeople are going to vote for, when they've already spoken. How many times do we go back and have them speak on the same issue? It just seems like we got a lot of people salivating over this pot of money that we want to, instead of paying down, which is what we were instructed to do by virtue of the referendum vote, we're just going to come up with something new until they say, okay. How many times do we bring it back to the table? But then again, the issue down at Old Alfred Road is significant. As David's been down there, and Dennis, and I'm sure that Frank has been down there. I've been down there on several occasions with Doug Foglio. We've taken photographs, walked down through there, and it's just, it's a terrible situation. I guess I'm kind of at a stalemate right now on where the money's going to come from. I think some of it's going to have to come eventually from, taxation, increase, revenues for, ditching down there. And I talked with Doug again just the other day and about what his ideas were, putting some, underground piping in there that funnels the stuff back, to run off. But I don't know.
Frank?
Yeah, a couple of comments. I have the disadvantage or advantage of coming off road review for a couple of years. We're in the second year of a major re-ditching overhaul catch-up program in this town. I don't know how much we did this year, 60,000 total?
Yeah.
60,000 last year. That was to cover the whole town. This is certainly part of the town. If we need to do Oak and Hemlock and do ditching, personally, I don't see why that can't be some of that ditching money used for that, number one. Number two, I don't see how we can do anything without an engineer in there. I just don't. I think it would be dumb on our part not get someone to spend the, what were we talking, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 to get an engineer and come up with a plan. Personally, I think the referendum article went down the tubes. We ought to pay off the bond, but that's separate. I think we have enough money this year that we could take $5,000 or $6,000 out of ditching and do the engineering study. Just, it's time to fish or cut bait. Take care of the people. It's a ditching problem. We got a major ditching program. We'll probably come back to see Tina next year for another $60,000 because we're not going to get done this ditching program. We're never going to catch up the way we're going. Take care of it. Just do it. $5,000 or $6,000. Freddie's got plenty of money in there to do an engineering study. And what better use for it? Take
We'll
care
tell
of the...
him you said that.
Oh, he'll hear about it. My phone will be ringing by the time I get home, or Scott will be in my face, one or the other. But, this is clearly what this is. This is a ditching problem. Why would we go in there and just arbitrarily cut new ditches if it isn't going to do the job? Number one. Number two, I'm glad to see the stake down there. I mean, it's long overdue, but there's a lot more work in that road to be done. And if they're talking about bringing in possibility of us taking over Old Alfred Road, okay, but let's take care of the road first. And I think
They're
that...
not gonna make us take Old Alfred Road over until they bring it up to standards. That's the proposal.
Yeah, and West Road and the rest of them, sure, but, to get it up to standards, there's a lot of work to be done that may very well take care of a lot of the drainage problems there. And if it doesn't, maybe we've got issues we can't address. But I think there's enough money in Freddie's account to take care of ditching. If we have to spend some on engineering, it's got to spend some on engineering. Doing no engineering now, I think would be
Yeah, I agree with
wrong.
Frank.
You need, and I'm not a big fan for the engineering, a lot of this stuff. That one, there's too many opinions. I'd rather have you go in there and let's find out. I mean, Dustin and I, Lord knows, we screaming at each other last year a few times. He finally got the level out and everything else. They had approved a few places where the drainage problems were, but it'll take some effort. But there's other parts of the town that need drainage that still got road clearing, so this won't be the end of it this year.
Yeah, we can't lose sight of that, because Hamilton Road is another one that's in
Sure.
significant problems, and
Yeah.
that section of 202 where Hamilton Road comes out. I mean, that's...
There's a bunch of
in there,
them,
put in a...
and that's gonna be an engineering part of that too.
And
The
I
one
guess-
down here in the,
My thought process when we were kind of poking at this the other night was, we will be going back to this municipality for bond money somewhere, somehow, because we have some major issues facing us. We've got a road we've already shut down because of a bridge issue. We've got another one that has got a report that's not very favorable tonight that we're gonna have to talk about here in a minute. So eventually, whether it's this year or next, in order for us to move forward with a bunch of these things that are gonna have to be done, I don't see it pulling $600,000-$700,000 out of the tax base to do it. You might be able to say, here's X amount of thousands of dollars, and this is the bond note to go do it, but.
My feeling on the bond money is, I'll echo Gordon's sentiment. I think that it was voted on, and I would not feel right going out and trying to use it for something else. Myself personally, right now, if it was having to make a decision today, I would be saying use it to pay down the bond. That's what was voted on by referendum. But I do agree that we can't keep messing around with this. It's been, on the forefront here, at least, this is my 4th year on the board, and it's been discussed since I started. And I think that, every once in a while, somebody goes down there, they take a peek, we can do this, we can do that, and then it doesn't happen. And I think that the engineering at this point is the only way that we can properly go about doing it. But I think that it's something that we can't wait another year to do. I think we need to get the engineering out there, get it done now, so we can say, okay, this is what has to be done to get this done right. Is there money that we have in this year's budget that we can at least start the process, and then next year, when we do our budget, having to look at budgeting the rest for it?
What do we need to do? Can we put this on the agenda for next week for, it's not next week, but the week after for an engineering study? Because it appears, I agree with the engineering study. We've got some citizens that have some pretty strong opinions here, but if it doesn't work, then people point the finger at the citizen who came up with the idea that didn't work. You have an engineer does this, then you've got the person, the professional that you can say, okay, we're beholden to that study, or it didn't work the way we thought it would, and we have some recourse. But anyway, it comes down to we want to do something, start doing something. So it seems to me that we need to put this on the agenda and vote on an engineering study in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Frank?
I guess it's shifting a little bit over. If I was to advocate an engineering study, I'd advocate an engineering study with I hate to say this, with a committee, because some of that input from other people needs to be in there. You've got some people in this town that know how to build roads, and they know how to do drainage. And at the same token, we need an engineering study. You need them all together, because if you don't, it's not going to come out smelling good. They're going to be finger pointing forever. So if you do it, I think it'd be more than just pick an engineer. I'm not entirely sure how you do that. But you need to I think you need to get 4 or 5 people together and sit them down in a room and say, how do we take care of this? How do we get an engineer? How do we settle it? And boy, there are going to be some strong opinions in that room.
I think one of the things that an engineer might do too is want to talk with a couple of those people who've got history and knowledge of
Yes.
of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to come in as an engineer knowing nothing. I'd want to talk to some people.
And what I stood up to say when Dennis mentioned bonding, and you look at 3 or 4 of the towns and a couple of small ones that have done major road bonds to bring all their roads up, redo their structure, get it right up to Class A, so everything's taken care of. If you look at a couple of those towns, you'll find that they now are sitting with about a 70% increase in maintenance to take care of those roads. I mean, if you don't kid ourselves, you don't sit here, spend 5, 10, 15, 20 million bucks, take care of all your roads, and then sit back. You still got to spend this 30 grand a year to do all the ditching and the maintenance and everything else, and your costs go up. So I agree, we're probably looking at that, but it's that maintenance cost afterwards. Those roads are the problem we have now. If you look at our scale, we're all down the low end of the curve. We just sort of run around and take care of what we can. You bring them all up to here. You want to keep them up here. You want to have a maintenance program that maintains those roads, and that's expensive.
And that's the problem that we have, is that over the course of how many years,
We haven't taken care of them.
we haven't taken care of them, and it's, I would agree with you 100%, Frank. You can't go throw money at them and then walk away from it and say, hey, we'll come back in 20 years and do it over again, right? It's going to change the approach on how we work roads.
Yeah, we don't, the structure would have to change.
But we need to plan it instead of react to it. That's the problem.
Tina?
I'm just puzzled that all 5 of you would say that the voters rejected that question in June, but yet you've got it on your agenda to discuss taking the leftover bond money to reallocate to the old Alfred Road. I think that bond money should be taken right off the table. The voters decided to pay down the debt. That's what should be done, period. It shouldn't even be discussed.
Well, the question was asked, is it something that we can or cannot do? And so rather than ignoring the question, we had Nancy research it, and we're bringing it up for discussion. It doesn't mean that we aren't going to do it, but if the question is asked, it's better to discuss it here in public where people can comment or whatnot than to just ignore it.
But the voices were spoken during town meeting saying, no, we do not want to reallocate these funds. But it's just like any other typical election where if people don't get the results that they want, they reword it and candy coat it another way to get what they want as an end result. I think the voters have decided, and it should be done the way the voters decided, period.
So you're saying we shouldn't even discuss this?
We shouldn't be discussing the leftover bond money.
Even if we, as 5 people and other people, discuss this and come to that conclusion, But you're saying we shouldn't even discuss it in the first place?
You shouldn't be discussing using the leftover bond money. The voters decided they do not want to reallocate that leftover money. They want to pay down the bond. So if you want to discuss the old Alfred Road and fixing it, great. The Finance Committee made a recommendation of increasing the ditching by $10,000. When we presented you with our recommendation, that went ignored.
Well, the
Well, it was a
$10,000
swizzle-
was,
it
it
was
was
a
just a,
swizzled
yeah.
Well, it was
moved
put into
from
the
one
ditching.
to the other.
Right,
Well,
it
it was just
was-
moved from the road commissioner's ditching budget to the CIP ditching budget. Regardless, it was $60,000 that was going to be spent, whether it was spent CIP or the road commissioner's budget.
If they're going to do it, I would hate to see any of this leftover bond money be used, period, and to even have it on the table. Obviously, Old Alfred Road needs some work. It's been issues for years. It's been a water issue long before middle school was there. I used to live on the Old Alfred Road. I know what it's like on the Old Alfred Road. It's been years. The middle school kind of compounded the problems with water. It's something that should be taken care of. It's something that should have been budgeted. And if you're going to spend X dollars to get a professional out there, which you should, I totally agree with that, because you want it done right, budget for it. Take it out of the current ditching, fix it, take it out of another ditching project, but, I mean, you're going to have to ditch these roads eventually. Our roads need some serious work. But the only thing I'm concerned about with is that bond money. The voters spoke, and I think the board bringing up using this money after the voters said no is just wrong.
No? And like I said, Tina, it doesn't mean that we aren't. It's a question that was raised and it needed to be discussed. And so we're discussing it in a public meeting. But certainly appreciate your input into it. So from what I'm hearing from the board, I think we probably need to have this on our agenda again in a couple of weeks and look at maybe have the road review committee and make sure we've got Fred here that night and look at discussing, probably going out and exploring, getting an engineer study for the,
Why do we need to wait 2 weeks? Is there something going on next week? Is there no meeting?
next week is a workshop. We've already got it
I
scheduled.
mean, you could vote to put it on the agenda tonight, and,
Well, it would be nice to have the road commissioner and the road review committee here, seeing as how they're the ones that went to the people basically with through the budgeting process. And we're saying, let's dip into what money they have to go do engineering work, so.
yeah.
I'd be more
I'd
comfortable
at least
having them
have
here.
them.
Yeah,
They might not like it, but
they should be part of the conversation.
Can we get a consensus then on the, quote, leftover monies from the referendum? Can we make a decision here one way or the other?
Well, we didn't have it as a vote.
I think the decision is that, you know, if we don't take any action, it's gonna go to pay down the bond. I don't think that there's any,
It's fine.
there's no driving, I guess, based on the conversation, there's no driving. We don't have anything specific to say this is how much money we need out of it, so do what's gotta be done.
In retrospect, it's always, would have been nice during the referendum article to say, here's some other choices, we need exactly $6,000 out of this to do the old Alfred Road, but you didn't,
All right. Moving on, next we have D.O.T. Hamilton Road letter. The Maine DOT came out and did a bridge inspection on the Hamilton Road, and this would be the bridge that is be right around the sharp corner. And the report that we received from the DOT is that the steel pipes have holes at the water lines, and that the bridge deficiency should be addressed as soon as practical to ensure continued safe use of the bridge. They provided us with a structure inventory and appraisal sheet, along with photographs that they took of the bridge. Nancy, did Fred get a copy of this? Okay. Again, I wish we had Fred here tonight. They are going to re-inspect this bridge again in a year. And due to bridge legislation effective July 1, 2001, there's no longer a funding mechanism for the bridge, which is considered a minor span on a town way.
So,
So it'll be inspected again in
We will.
2011, and it's our responsibility to incur the cost of fixing.
so, I guess with the lack of making a motion, I just say we'll welcome them back next year to do the next inspection. It's not gonna fall in tomorrow based on the culverts have got some holes in it. But it's gotta go on the list of stuff that we need to poke at.
And I don't know if Fred had specific projects in mind with his budget as far as his bridge line item, roads and bridges line item.
I don't think he's got enough funds to fix this one.
No.
This one in there. There's two culverts, and there's a cement structure, so the culverts would appear to be rotting away.
There's a significant volume of water going through there, too, to be honest. I mean, it was... And part of the issue, there probably would have been more, but part of the issue along Hamilton Road is the ditching there hadn't been maintained,
Oh, it's
because
gotta-
it's all grown in and
Well, it
filled.
goes back to, gotta be late 80s, mid to late 80s, when we ditched all of that, cleaned the alders and everything else out of those brooks to improve water flow. My guess, they haven't been touched since.
You still got a lifespan on a steel culvert.
Right.
I mean, this isn't the only one. If you want to go up on Chadwell Ridge Road and follow through the culvert for that dam.
Well, they're not gonna go look at some of the culverts that are,
But, you know, but
Right.
that's us, that's infrastructure. You want to shut down Chadwell Ridge Road, so you can't, that culvert's already got some healthy rust.
I
It's
guess,
been, what, 20 years?
what's their, I guess it would be the involvement because it was a state aid road, right? Same as the culvert on the other side down below the school, right?
So,
They must be getting ready to resurrect all that, and bring those roads back up to standards, I know.
any other discussion on that?
I think they're planning on having a tooth fairy.
No, but
raise
it
some money
should,
for
Money tree
there
growing
should
up
be
out
a
of it.
copy of this go to the road review, I guess. if not-
Yep, Nancy already gave it to Jim Jeff today.
Put a culvert under your pillow and get something.
Next, under new business, is the DEP letter on inspection of the closed town landfill. And again, the state came out on June 28th. DEP came out and visited the closed Waterboro Municipal Landfill on the Bennett Hill Road. And the observations are that the site is relatively well maintained. They recommended that it be mowed, that it's getting somewhat long, approximately 3 to 3.5 feet, but it was mostly grass with some plant, but there were no woody plant. Woody plant would actually have the possibility of corrupting the cap. A dead spot was noted. There was no note of any water pounding on the cap, burrowing animals, or seeps on the site. No sign of ATV use on or near the cap. And the access road was beginning to get a little overgrown, and there were no gates or fences sealing it off from the public. Overall, the site is in great condition. They made a couple recommendations to mow the cap on an annual basis to make sure that it doesn't get any woody brush on it. They recommended that potentially we look at installing a gate system to make sure that there's no ATV use or illegal dumping, and a little bit of thinning of the vegetation.
Anybody know if they still mow the field down at the bottom of it?
I think so.
I mean, at one time, they were mowing the cap too, right? They stopped doing that. But it should be something that, does Fred have anybody out mowing? roads? Do you even have a budget for mowing anymore?
Yeah, he did them earlier in the spring.
That's funny, because probably 80% of the town has no clue that there used to be a dump.
No.
You do get ATV traffic going down through there. I mean, and, you know, it's a nice hill. We used to ski on it, we used to slide
Great
on it.
sliding spot in the wintertime.
Right, but 80% of the town doesn't remember that, you know, used to be a great hangout with Stoney and a couple cold ones and shoot rats, so. And I'm a newcomer to town.
So I guess the only thing we really need to look at doing is making sure that it gets mowed, and other than that, you know, we'll see him again next year.
Well, it's
You want Fred?
gratifying that we have a piece of good news
Yeah.
tonight, you know, that.
When
that-
Fred comes back next week, I'll
Just remember that we will all be gone, and the DEP will still be coming down and checking this gap.
Our great-great-great-grandchildren will probably be doing it. Okay, moving on to old business. We have correct motion for the Charter Commission. On July 6th, we discussed the deadlines for the Charter Commission, and a motion, we discussed that August 9th would be the date that we would need to make papers available for the elected Charter Commission folks. And that was our discussion all the way through, and then when Pam went back to do the minutes off the tape, we accidentally made the motion to be for September, the date that the papers would be due, as the date that we would open up papers as being available. So John made the original motion. So John, would you like to correct that motion to be the August 9th date?
I will.
And Gordon, I think you would,
Well,
Actually, you don't really have to vote on it, because that's covered by
oh,
state law, 30A.
so we're all set then? All right.
but
Get
we
off-
can, we can
get
note
off
in the
free.
minutes that it's
Get
going
off
to be.
free on that one, John.
We can note in the
And I
minutes
won't.
that it was August 9th that we're looking at.
And none of us picked up on it, so. So we'll make sure that the papers for the Charter Commission are available on August 9th. And I would say that probably on our August 3rd meeting, we need to make sure that we're having a discussion about the Charter Commission and what it is, so that we actually have people that are interested in coming in and taking out papers. Other warrants for bills and payroll. Your motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Okay. Pending decisions, we have a blank slate there. The week's action list.
Oh, On the pending decisions, I'd like to re-bring up the lot issue at, it's either Lot 43, Map 13, or Map 13.
3-1.
Yeah. That. I've been doing a fair amount of research online with Maine GIS and taking the deeds that Diane Holden was able to find for me. And you can actually do scale measurements from the satellite imagery off the Maine GIS. And I think it's going to show pretty conclusively that there is no issue that the town needs to go further on. And I've started putting together some of the overlays and things, and I'll put it into a presentation that we can show on the screen of exactly where these measurements fall, and I think it should take care of the issue.
So do you think you'd have that for August 3rd?
Yeah, that's 2 weeks away. Yeah, I'll have that by then.
And we can wrap that up once and for all.
Yeah.
So the week's,
I would like the minute, once I get it done, is to sit down with John and go over it, because he's been down there with me doing the walk, and he would know, you know, what I'm referring to, and
The owner talked to me today. I saw him
did
at the
he?
post office, and he said, "What's happening?" Yeah, so we're going to be putting this to rest.
good.
So, but he certainly would probably like to hear us officially put that to rest.
Okay. Nancy's going to confirm what a quorum would be for the planning board tomorrow.
Yeah,
And
I just went on David, we'll have to change the charter that's on the website, because that's an outdated one. It doesn't have the changes that was
Doesn't have the
in it.
referendum changes.
Okay. So discussion of agenda items. Next week, we're having a workshop. Nancy has sent out a notice to the department heads, to the finance committee, to the town treasurer. She's going to touch base with Jerry tomorrow as well and invite Jerry to come in and show us how we come to the tax rate, go over the budget, purchase order policy. We'll have Julie do an explanation on reading the reports, the revenue expenditures, and the general ledger that we get every week. So if department heads are interested in seeing that, they know exactly what they're looking at. So it should be a pretty informative workshop for everybody.
Did you say Jerry's going to do the how to set the tax rate?
Mhm.
You ever seen that form? That should be posted.
I think what we're going to try to do, Nancy suggested it, is do it up on the screen so that he can do some,
It
Some
did
live
need to
shots.
be put up on the town website. That is the clearest form. It's wonderful. You know,
Oh.
how do you set the tax? What do you do? How do you figure your limits? It's on one, the last I checked, it was a one-page,
Yep.
fill in the form. I mean, that would be, you could put it up on the website and say, okay, you fill in. What do you want to do? It's beautiful.
so hopefully Jerry will be able to join us for that for next week.
It's a lot easier doing it now than it used to be. When you had that,
Yeah.
it was a lot of work before, and now you just put in the numbers and it automatically.
It's basically a state form. Really.
That's a self-calculating PDF form?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we're supposed to have the planning board coming in to report next week.
Finance.
The finance committee. So that seems like timing on that will work out quite well. So, items needing signature, be warrants for bills and payroll.
I just want to, we have a plan for Thursday night for the second session on goal setting.
That's
Next week.
Next week, the 29th.
Next week?
Yeah.
I mean, not this Thursday, but next
Right.
Thursday. Okay. Is Tom, did
Tom is
we?
available. I talked to him.
Okay, and he's on board?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And I told him he wasn't allowed to bring any sardines.
Okay, good.
So reminders, tomorrow evening, Wednesday. David, did you have something?
Well, I guess, we're gonna wait till next week to put the road review and the engineering issue on the agenda for the following week?
August 3rd. I've already got it for
Okay,
August
okay,
3rd.
okay.
Yeah, we also need to address the issue of what's being displayed on our,
I've got that too. So Wednesday, July 21st, 7 p.m., the planning board at the Town Hall Annex. Thursday, July 22nd at 4 p.m. be the Economic Development Committee at the Town Hall Annex. Monday, July 26th at 6:30 p.m., Transfer Station Recycling Committee at Town Hall. Tuesday, July 27th, 6 p.m., Selectmen's Meeting Workshop, Town Hall Annex, and we'll have the Finance Committee reporting out. Joe?
My apologies, I should have asked for a little time beforehand, but
Would always
quick
be the
announcements. Make it quick. First, a reminder of the foreclosure prevention forum that's coming up this Thursday in Sanford at the Mountain View Place, what used to be the Knights of Columbus. That's 47 High Street, and they're running 2 sessions at 5:30 and 7:30, and they're encouraging people to bring all their documentation with them to help them with those matters.
just give the gate dates one more time, Joe.
That's Thursday, 5:30,
So
7:30.
7/22. Yep.
Now, coming up 8/5 on August 5th is something that has been offered at other locations by the State Insurance Commission. They're holding a series of forums throughout the state, and when I first took a look at the schedule, I saw that the closest ones to us were in Kittery and Lewiston. So I asked if there could be one scheduled in this area, and it's now set for August 5th from 5 to 7 at the M.R.S.A High School Auditorium. They'll give an overview of their services, and have an extensive question and answer session for anyone who wants to come in with some issues that they've had with either health or life insurance policies. Also, they're doing an overview of the new Federal Affordable Care Act and how it impacts on small businesses, on those who are on Medicare or soon to be on Medicare, and also those who already have insurance policies, what may this federal law have in way of impact on those who already are insured. So that's coming up again, August 5th, 5 to 7, M.R.S.A High School. And one last thing. In conversation with Clint Andrews with respect to the new compactor, he mentioned that it will probably need a variable speed, variable frequency drive. And in the course of conversation with some folks at Efficiency Main Trust, they have a program there where a town could be reimbursed in part for the purchase of that, given that it is a energy efficiency, well, it's an energy saver. So Tim Vrabel of Efficiency Main Trust contacted him to contact Clint, and when that is installed, if it does need that device, there's at least the possibility of getting a little bit of money back from the state.
Fabulous, thank you, Joe.
Joe, are you going to put some kind of announcement in the local paper about August 5th one?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you'd like, I can get something over to Nancy.
Probably get it on the web.
Just put it on the website.
Okay,
Yep.
will do.
Great, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Would they be receptive at all of that, to have it videotaped so we could rebroadcast on our,
I think there'd be no difficulty with that.
It's at the M.R.S.A High School, though.
yeah, but I
At
mean,
least video it.
if we can video it, I'm sure that we have the technology
Yeah.
to be able to re-air that.
Mhm.
Am I correct on that, Mr. IT Director?
Yeah, we can get it done.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anything else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you very much.